Uh, Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you all. We are coming live from here, where I am. And I believe that you are seeing me clearly. So, today we just want to talk about the most important thing a human being can ever talk about in this republic at this point in time. And the issue of Bari has not worked. Bari is a failed project. Bari has not delivered anything. He promised us, he never did anything. That's what we are here to talk about. And I want to start by explaining why it's important that I do this and why I am doing this. You see, fellow Zambians, we as Zambians collectively own this republic. We are a nation of 21 million human beings whose collective decision, whose collective choice will define the future of this country for many years to come. Now, this day has been very busy for me. In the morning I had examinations, and later I started following the interview of the head of state, and now I'm here. The whole purpose why I'm here, it is because we all have a patriotic mandate, a patriotic obligation to our motherland to make informed decisions, informed choices of a future and the future that we want to see of our country going forward. Just this morning when I was listening to the head of state, he mentioned something very important that touched me. He said, if we were growing and moving in this direction for the past 60 years, our country should have been worth $500 billion, $500 billion. And if you think that is a joke, I'll tell you an example of a country in fact, most of the country in West Asia. They have grown, they have become global influencers, global powerhouses, because of responsible leadership, because of citizens that chose to rise above emotion and self-interest to preserve and uplift their nations. And this is why I'm here. I'm here to talk to you, to share with you the key achievements of the New Dawn government, just to sort of highlight or ignite within your heart what makes me and many millions of Zambians out there want to bring back this HH into power. And so, I'll be very brief as much as I can. I'm rarely brief, but I'll try to be brief because, if you look at this document, I had to print them. These are 26 pages of achievements that the New Dawn government has achieved, but I'm projecting them on my screen so that I'm able to direct my thoughts very well. So don't get disrupted when I look this side. I'm trying to move with speed and be able to bring myself back, because one of the reasons why many people are now complaining is because we have forgotten where we are coming from. We have forgotten the things that have changed and how they have changed. We have forgotten the kind of life we lived before this for us to get here. So now, I want to start with the economy, debt restructuring, and also macroeconomic stability. The first achievement of this government is to bring to an end an era of national uncertainty on macroeconomic issues. In November of 2020, Zambia defaulted on her sovereign debt. It was the first country in the world to have ever defaulted on its sovereign debt after COVID-19. And that history will never be erased. Come in 2050, search for it, you will find it. So, the fact that now we are sitting on an economy where global powerhouses, economic analysts globally are looking at it and saying, what lessons can we learn from Zambia, is a massive achievement. And to give context to this, and in this election period that we are in, I want to just highlight one thing. The only thing that was missing in Zambia's problem at the time was the top leadership. The international community lost confidence in the top leadership. And this is why The PF government in 2018-2019 hired a French firm to negotiate Zambia's debt. They failed. The reason why they failed is because the individuals that were leading in that government had no credibility at the international playground. And this is why we had that default. And so to have this credibility in our economy is a massive achievement for the new Dawn government. To have investors flocking coming to Zambia, we want to invest in Zambia, is a massive achievement for this new Dawn government. Now, it might not make a lot of sense, and I'll talk to you about the investment that has happened in this country since the UPND government came into power. So that we are able to understand when we say there is credibility, it is just like in a home where you have a father who steals, a father who drinks, a father who cannot be trusted on anything. People will be unwilling to do business with you because they don't know what mood he will wake up in tomorrow. We now have a government, a sober government, that when they say this, they stand on it, and international observers, international economic powerhouses have recognized that. And this is why we were able to restructure our debt, because our leadership, the UPND government leadership, is credible. Our president is a credible man. He went out there on the at COP27. He was lecturing. French president was there listening, opening eyes and nodding his head. Because a wise man, a man who understands what his country, what his continent needs, was speaking. And this is why I'm here to tell you that our sovereign debt that we defaulted on now was renegotiated, and now we have headroom to actually be able to expand. That brings me to the next point, and the next point is public debt percentage in relation to GDP. In 2021, this country, the entire wealth, if you say net worth, the net worth of Zambia was less than the net worth or the debt that Zambia had. Now you can imagine that we had a country that was owing more than it is worth. You can imagine that. Even you as a person, you are worth 10,000. As a person, when we sell oil, clothes, everything you have, you are worth 10,000. But we Nkongore 10 pin. Even if they get your clothes, they get everything you own, you still not be able to pay back. That is how Zambia was. And this is why, when we say that Zambia was a basket case, that is what the president means. It was a country that had no credibility. You cannot give Nkongore to someone who is owing more than he actually is worth. And neither can you invest in such an economy, because these people are desperate for money. They'll grab your investment and you end up losing on investment. And so the next and the most important achievement that this new Dawn government has done is to expand the economy. Now, from 133% of the GDP being our debt, we are now at 86% as of June 2025. That is a massive achievement. It took a lot of work, it took a lot of commitment, but above all, it took a credible leader to lead our nation out of the furrow of debt, the furrow of poverty in which we were sinking. The next achievement is, of course, the actual debt restructuring. That debt restructuring, its impact on the Zambian economy is that it liberated over 1.5 billion on an annual basis. Over 1.5 billion away from debt servicing to now investment. That is an achievement. And this is why when we see all these things happening, free education, people are wondering, where are you getting the money? It is because there was that debt restructuring, that freed resources from giving to Nkongore to now being able to invest it into our economy, to now being able to invest it into our youth, to now be able to invest it into our agricultural sector, to be able to invest it into our energy sector. That speaks to credibility. You cannot negotiate debt in excess of 10 billion, 12 billion when you do not have a name. Having a name is important, Ivane. Even in your personal life, in our personal lives, let us endeavor to have a name. That is what HH has. CEO World Bank, CEO IMF was speaking to HH as if they are colleagues. That is the kind of a president we have. That is why he was able to negotiate. I'm not worshipping a white man, but you have to know that white people have a superiority complex. They view themselves as important, but they view the HH equally important. That is the kind of a name he had. That is why he was able to restructure the debt. The question is, when you have voted for a president emotionally, out of your emotion, out of the hunger that you are feeling now, you vote for a president. How will our neighboring countries see that president? Because that is what will determine how they will take us, all of us as a country. And this is why I will never stop emphasizing that the kind of a person we choose for a president matters. The kind of a person, the kind of a candidate we say, this one should be our president, becomes the face of all of us. So when you are choosing that person, be proud that, okay, I've chosen this person, I'm happy. The person I'm chosen is someone I can say, this one can represent me at the United Nations General Assembly. This is someone I can send and represent us at COP27. He is someone who I can send to international summits and represent us, not only in looks, but in spoken word, in wisdom, in data also. That is what we are looking for. Someone who can make wise decisions and effectively make choices of what should be done and what should not be done for an economy. Then Zambia managed to secure that 1.7, that 1.7 credit facility with the IMF. That money that came into our economy. Yes, people wanted to, IMF for us, we don't want IMF. But the truth of the matter is, IMF is like the marker of your exam. If the marker of your exam does not believe that you wrote correct answers, no matter how good you might look, your credibility is only unto yourself and yourself alone. So the fact that the IMF was able to give money to Zambia speaks to what confidence this leadership has instilled, what trust this leadership has instilled into external observers when they look at our country. I was privileged sometime last year to actually travel outside the country. I was in Zimbabwe for a short period of time there. And I also visited 1 or 2 countries. You know what they are saying is that the Zambian passport, you need to safeguard it. When you are at the airport there, safeguard it. They say it has a lot of value. People are willing to steal that passport and sell it to someone. Because it has the value that this passport now has is so much. And that is why I'm telling you, maybe in Zambia, that there is no better person right now. And you can quote me 10, 20, 30 years from now. For this election in 2026, there is no better candidate for the presidency than HH. Now, some people tell me, no, you are Tonga, that's why you are supporting HH. There's this Yamunene with his Focus Party, FP. I can't support him. I have not seen any credibility in him. Let him prove himself worth of my support. Your Brian Mundubire, he is a good man, yes. I don't know how good he is. But the fact of the matter remains that only for the fact that he is not Tonga, I'll never support someone simply because they are not Tonga. Because I'm not voting for a tribe. I'm voting for the face of our country. I'm voting for that person who will be our mic, who will be our mouthpiece on those tables where big people sit. Imagine sending Vamundubire on a table where Trump is sitting. Vane, let's be serious. Like, let's just be serious. We just look at things and we are real with ourselves. We say, okay, this is not right. Just because you are upset, just because you didn't benefit, just because you as an individual didn't get money direct, does not mean that a president is bad. Look around and see what other things have been done. And this is why I'm here, to make you look around. Now, international reserves. International reserves, when the PF was leaving, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised because I think they left them around 1 billion or somewhere there. 1.5 or near, I don't know, 1.5 billion. But today, our international reserves stand at a staggering 6.5 billion, 4 months, 4 months imports cover as of April 2026. That is the kind of people we have. Now, these are people that are not only based on spending. I must explain. There's something I need to explain and I need you people to understand. Barry negotiated the debt so that it is paid in a longer period of time. But what that means is that this debt will still have to be paid. The only way this country will get to be able to pay that debt is if we grow our economy. The grounds upon which the creditors agreed to renegotiate the debt with Zambia was on grounds that in this period, in this amount of money that is going to be released from debt servicing, Zambia will be able to invest in her domestic economy and grow her economy to the extent that as this debt matures, as these obligations arise to service our debt, we should have built an economy big enough to sustain debt repayment. That is the context. Now, what you need to understand is that if we change government, we are bringing instability in the growth of our economy. That is number one. Number two, we are bringing a new face that we don't know how the creditors will respond to. Number three, we are bringing a whole new crop of leaders that need to start learning how to run government. I mean, you guys have been saying, yeah, he was not a president, he was just a provincial minister. That means that he is unaware, he is uninformed to the extent that a president should be. Meaning, upon assumption of power, he will have to start learning. That is stalling economic growth. Which economic growth will determine whether we'll be able to pay debt tomorrow or not. And this is why I'm telling you, the best man for this job is that guy who has been negotiating since he was 23, since he was 26, since he was 29. To continue negotiating for Zambia so that more investment, more money keeps coming into our economy, and the greater the bigger our economy grows, the better for our nation. The better for our nation. I must remind you, the 2021 budget was 163, I think 163 billion kwacha. The 2025 budget just now was around 253 or something like that. Over 100 billion, nearly 100 billion increment. That shows you how fast we are growing as an economy. So when you hear that, the GDP has increased, this is what it means. It means that within our economy, more industries are coming to produce more. Okay? How these things work is that if you produce, you get it to sell, so you get to have money. If you import, you get to send money outside, you get to lose money, and you get to be poor. And that is how poverty has come to these African countries. Because we are not producing. This shirt I'm wearing was produced outside this country. The trousers I'm wearing was produced outside this country. The machine, the barber machine that was used to make this haircut was produced outside this country. And this is why HH says, let us stop sending raw copper outside the country. He has put up industries. In Chiwambo, where I come from, there's an industry producing batteries there. And many other industries, fertilizer production plants are being constructed to make sure that this economy can then be able to produce and be able to export. When we export, we earn dollars, we earn foreign exchange. That is how countries grow. That is how economies grow. Now, the next thing that I want us to look at, which is number 6 on my list, is the fiscal balance. Okay? Fiscal balance. Zambia has been reporting, has been reporting surplus in terms of GDP, in terms of primary surplus. And this is something that is very important because it also speaks to how quickly our economy is growing in response to how much our citizens are demanding for. Now, it only takes a man, and you know, sometimes I laugh. People tell me, no, the economy was doing much better under the PF, things were fair. The question is simple. If the economy was doing very well under the PF, why did we default as a country on our debt? Why did we fail to pay Kongole up? If the economy was doing fine. You know, most of the time when we think about the PF, we think that it was just about Kadarism. Yes, Kadarism was very pathetic, and personally when I'm walking in Lusaka those days, I would be afraid. I would be looking at who is looking at me, how are they interpreting whatever I'm doing, how I'm speaking, and what I'm putting on. But on top of that, we had a team of clueless people as far as economics is concerned. This is why the only thing these people could do is to build infrastructure projects that they can point at. When they point at, we built that bridge, it is sort of
smears some sort of, if I'm at the word, I would say, it is smearing some sort of glucocorticoids, it is smearing some sort of steroids to ease the pain. When you look at the bridge that has been built, you look at the hunger at home, you are like, oh, the money that was supposed to be used for me to eat was used at the bridge. But in essence, hidden behind those many infrastructure projects was overpricing, was under delivery in terms of quality. It was delayed delivery, which is why many projects that were started by the PF, starting from as far back as 2013, remained for the UPND to finish, and Barry has been magnanimous enough never to select anything, and he has been completing them. And this is why every time I see that man, I say Kwenyu, because he is not a man who is so large on politics. I've told my friends several times, Barry is a good economist. And this is why maybe people think he's a bad politician. But I think a leader needs to rise above political lines, needs to rise above what is politically beneficial to him into looking at what is beneficial to the country, patriotically looking at the needs of the country and delivering to those needs. And that is just what Barry has been. We are moving. Now we are going to go to economic growth. Ieve ni kondai. Lekani ni kambe mushe. Economic growth, children of God. Did you know that before 2021, Zambia was dying? You don't know. Let me explain to you. Zambia was growing at a rate of -2%. If you are a child, if you get to have a child, and this child grows, weight is growing, and then at some point, you take them for what do you call this, under 5 clinic. They tell you, this child is now growing at -2% by weight. Just know that child needs to be looked at in a special way, because it means the child is losing and not gaining. That is what Zambia was experiencing. We were growing at a -2% as an economy. And this is why GDP was going down while debt was going up. Because money to be spent within domestic means was going down, while money was continuously being demanded for by the economy. So to service and meet the demands of the economy, the PF had to borrow and borrow to do literally everything. This is why, despite being that constrained as a country, we were paying $2.5 billion to our creditors to service debt. And so this economic growth, now we are talking about our economy growing at around 5.2% over the past 4 or 5 years. Now, if you come from -2 to 5, you are talking about 7% growth rate. That is how fast we are growing our economy. Now, growth of an economy of a nation is different from growth of an individual or family economy. Because when an economy is growing at a national level, it does not mean that every single person, every one individual in the economy is growing. Unfortunately, it means that when you look at the products or the profits versus the expenditures, the profits, the input into the economy is much bigger than what is being taken out, regardless of whether me and you are directly the ones that are receiving the increment into the economy. So what this means is that our country is growing into a self-sustaining economy. If at this rate we continue growing for the next 10 years, our economy will grow by 50% or 70%. That will be almost twice or an addition of half of what the economy was then added on top of that. If the economy was the 1 kwacha, after 10 years, it is going to grow to 1 kwacha 50. If the economy was the 1 trillion, after 10 years, it is going to grow to 1.5 trillion. That is what it means when we say that the economy is growing at 5%. And the same is true when it is growing in the negative, which was happening under the PF. And again, I ask my colleagues, brothers and sisters, those that are supporting this party that I don't want to mention, who are supporting the coming out of power of President HH. My question to you is, if the economy was doing so well, why were you recording negatives? Because the Minister of Finance was going to Parliament there to go and tell Parliament that this economy has grown by -2%. If the economy was doing well, if you are good managers of our economy, tell us why was the Zambian economy going down, and yet you were in power. So if you were failing at that point, what special gift have you come with for the Zambian people, so that now, as when we look at you, we should see a different crop of leaders that can instill confidence in us? Fellow Zambians, whether you are supporting NRPUP, whether you are supporting UPND, whether you are supporting FP, whether you are supporting CF, Citizens First, whether you are supporting FDD, whatever the party you are supporting, we have one mandate given to us by God, passed down to us by our ancestors, to ensure that we preserve the national dignity of our country. And the only way we get to do that is if we continue rising on our growth as an economy. Countries are respected for what they are able to offer to the world. If you have nothing to offer, that is how now you will be talking about the Security Council. What those people know, even if they don't add us to the Security Council, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. The only way we get it to be respected out there is if we manage our resources in a more responsible manner. And when we manage our resources in a more responsible manner, we grow our economies. When we grow our economies, our voice matters, because if there's any disruption in our economy, it affects other people outside our countries, outside our continent. Let me move to the next thing. Inflation. Number 8. Inflation in 2022, in 2021 was 22%. 22% inflation. That is how unstable prices of commodities were. And this is why when COVID-19 came, the prices of commodities jumped like an excited atom upwards to shock the Zambians. And I was very surprised because the inflation was that high. There was no stability in the market. But today, we have an inflation of 6.8 as of April 2026. What that means is that our prices are much more predictable. And this is why when those guys started bombing each other in the Middle East, our prices never were affected to any appreciable extent, because our market, our economy right now is stable, thereby ensuring that the prices of commodities, people are less worried when they see instability. Let me quickly go to investor confidence. Now, this is important. I've already partly talked about it, but let me just re-emphasize that investors get only to be confident in an economy if you have credible leadership. You do not get to bring investors into your country when they are afraid that tomorrow the president can wake up and say, liquidate this mine. They will not come here to establish manufacturing plants when a president can wake up tomorrow and get drunk and dance near the industry and the cat has gone to disrupt that industry. It doesn't work like that. Investors will come to a country when they see that there is stability. When they see that this person who is leading this country speaks this and he means what he says. And that is what just Barry has come with. Barry has brought to this economy this confidence in the investors, such that over $10 billion has come into this country. Fellow countrymen, we will never have another person in this election better than Barry. And I'm speaking of this as a very patriotic young man. I'm not afraid anyone can quote me any other day from today. I'm a proud supporter of Barry for one reason, that this country needs him right now. This country needs him more than he needs to be a president. And this is why we should go and vote for that man. When investors look at Barry, they see someone who has invested, they see someone who understands the value of being consistent in policy. They see someone who understands corporate politics. They see someone who understands the needs and demands of the corporate world, because he is a man who has worked there. He is a man who has invested world over. So he knows the importance of protecting an investment that a foreign investor brings into the country. Now there have been debates, no investment into the economy, they are just getting the money out and taking it out. I'll come to that. But let me go to fiscal discipline. Fiscal discipline. Now this is important. I have been seeing a lot of videos. You colleagues, let us be honest with each other. In 2021, in fact, that guy said, what is the date today? 25th December 2017. This guy is standing in front of cameras with a stash of cash, like a lot of money. The entire bed is spread with money. And yet Zambians, you and me, were struggling at the time. Just like we are struggling now. Poverty is still there in Zambia. And no one is refuting that. The cost of living is still above the common man's reach. But are we getting better? Yes. How do we know? There is investment in power. There is investment into education. There is investment into mining. There is investment in agriculture. Meaning we are assured of increased productivity in our economy, which will then lower the cost of living. Because the cost of living is not a presidency thing to do that. It would have decided the cost of living should be 10 kwacha. It can't happen. The cost of living is in a free economy like this one is driven by market forces. And those market forces are expenditure and expenditure and investment, as it were. You spend and you gain. You spend and you gain. The more you gain, the more you become big. The more you become big, the more you can afford. The more you can afford, the more the people can afford for the country. I mean, across the country. So this is a process that has to happen over time. We all need to endure to some extent. It is just like when you as a parent has given birth to a beautiful baby girl. And then this beautiful baby girl, after being given birth to, you look at her. She grows, she reaches 12 years. You are like, this one has become beautiful. 16 years, I'm marrying you. I want to get 2 cows. I want to get 30 pin. But what if you invested in this child growing? It means you'd have continued to spend on this child to add more value to them. So that at the time that you marry them off, they can bring an even bigger return. Exactly just like that. It will be painful on you as a parent as you are spending on your school. It will be painful on you as a parent as you are spending on her medical bills because the husband would have been spending if she got married. It will be painful on you as a parent as you are spending that money to buy this girl groceries. But the bottom line at the back of the mind of this responsible parent is that if I continue investing in this my child, tomorrow or the other day, this child will be a doctor, this child will be a lawyer, and she should be able to stand on her own without me waiting for her husband to be able to help me when I'm in need. That is exactly how economics works. You cannot start sucking an economy when it has not yet grown. Us who are farmers understand this better because we grow animals. These animals do grow. It reaches a certain extent. If you want, you can sell it for beef. But if what you want is milk, you have to continue feeding it, keep feeding it until it can now produce milk. Go and get that milk, you consume it, and the animal continues to grow and produce. The moment that you want to eat it fast, that is what PF was doing. They wanted to supply their commanders. And this is why this important of this issue of fiscal discipline is extremely important. Because the PF was getting money out of the government systems, down to the cadres, down to the commanders. Then at the end of the day, what do you have? You have a staffed. You have a starved country. You have a starved economy that cannot stand on its own, and that is why they defaulted. Not because of COVID-19, but because of financial indiscipline, failure to understand how economies grow, failure to understand how markets operate. Let's move. We are on number 12, and now we are talking about credit worthiness. Credit worthiness, they are international establishments, they are international observers that look at how a country is faring in terms of capability to pay back debt. Now, these establishments, what they do is they will grade you. They will say, okay, according to how this Zambian economy is doing, according to how the leadership is behaving, this economy can be credited. There's I think there's a triple A, there's the 1 year, and then it's coming like that. And just recently we were listening that Zambia has been upgraded. It means Zambia has more access to capital to grow our economy. It must be understood, fellow Zambians, youths, adults, and everyone out there, that debt in itself is not bad. Debt is bad when you get in Congore and you have no idea of where to put the money. All countries on earth, the US, China, everyone has debt to someone in some way. The difference is where do they take the money that they get from the creditors? Do they invest it? Do they give it to the cadres, which the PF was doing? And I can assure you, if you bring those people back, that's what they'll continue doing. That's what they'll continue doing. And this is why these people are able to come out in the public and say, "Ah, we are willing to kill or die." There's no one who is killing in an election. All we are doing is getting my voter's card tomorrow to go and vote. Convince me to vote for you if you want me to vote for you. Not coming to me to tell me you give me excavators in a struggling economy. You come to me and tell me that you are going to give all students across the country bursaries in a struggling economy. No, doesn't work like that. You cannot come to me and start convincing me, no, you should vote for me. You should vote for me because ababa ripo baranda fie, ababa ripo batema fia manamba, ababa ripo bakwata fia graph. If the graphs are making the economy grow at 5%, that is what I need. That is what I need. And no one will change my mind about that because I'm doing this for my country, for the future of this country, for my children that will be born tomorrow, and for my own future as a person. I don't want to grow up in a country that is broken, a country of lawlessness, a country where a cadre can walk into my home, beat me, I go to report to police and get arrested. That I will not allow. And that is why tomorrow, when you go to vote, keep remembering that a man was shot near force headquarters there, only for going to drink, coffee. Because an HH, an opposition leader then, was invited at police headquarters, force headquarters. As we thought they use tear gas canisters, they use, what do they call, rubber bullets. Can't they were bullets in there and they were killing for real? Personally, where I am here, I saw a man being shot in broad daylight, not by a police officer on duty. Not because this person stole anything, no. People are just protesting about the gassing which faced the country in 2019. And this guy was shot. I was watching, so I'm looking. Children of God, I'm begging you, before you entertain your emotions. I know we are all hungry. The cost of living is higher than what most of us can afford, but so was it under the PF. So was it under the PF, so is it in most of the countries on earth. The question is, what mixture of leadership qualities are you looking for? Are you looking for people that are emotionally charged to be able to exact revenge on people that you don't like? Are you looking for people that only have the zeal to get power, but no vision to lead people? Are you looking for people that cannot instill discipline? Right now, I should have expected that Honorable Binu Mpondo by now should have been fired out of presidential duties where he's sitting next to Honorable Brani Mundubiri, for stating that he's willing to kill over an election. But there he is very smiling and happy. If what they are bringing is discipline, let them fire that man. Let them demonstrate to the country that they are different. They do not tolerate indiscipline, illegality, regardless of the source. But so far, that discipline, I can't see it. But on top of indiscipline, on top of the PF's indiscipline and hooliganism, they were clueless about the economy. Which is why I'm telling you that mwabari kugura ka bread ungavutikeko, but eventually you buy it because you still be alive. Mu PF baba, you do not afford the bread, you don't have the energy to run, the cadres come with the machetes, they are busy scratching them over, sharpening them on the road. They cut you. A mother in Chirenje market there, she was just doing her own thing, displaying a chitenge material. They came and hacked that woman. She was breeding like a cow at a slaughterhouse, which is very sad and should never repeat itself in this country. So if people want to come back and say we are different, we are changed, right now what I would have expected from especially the NRPUP, because those people are exactly the same breed of individuals we had in PF. What I would have expected is for them to denounce the legacy of cadarism, the legacy of financial indiscipline, the legacy of entitlement with the power that Irungu left. May his soul rest in peace. But those things were bad. They should have renounced those. And then he tell us, this we don't agree with Bamudara. May his soul rest in peace. What we are going to put in place of this is this. But these are people that are willing to go and stand on a podium and say, tukateka kwati valungu filiatwali. Filiamwali kwi. You will not come back. And if you do, we'll fight until you get out. Unfortunately, we will not need to fight because tomorrow we are going to vote for Barry. The next thing that Barry has achieved, the children of God, is economic credibility. Of course, I think I've talked about credibility. That's number 15 in the education sector. Free education. Now, free education, many of us just look at it from a classroom perspective. Let me expand the horizon for you. Free education freed a lot of people and a lot of money. Above freeing a lot of people and freeing a lot of money, free education also opened the gates for so many people, freedom into independence for many future youths, many future Zambians. How so? Parents stopped paying money to schools. Where did that money go? Remained at home. That is the financial freedom. Small as it might be, it was significant enough to warrant a parent seeing their child dropping out of school without paying it. Therefore, if anyone is going to underpay free education, they must explain to me how it makes sense to them that this free education has sorted out a problem of an education among over 2.5 million young people. If you are going to underpay free education, then make me understand how justifiable it is that I should do away with the free education for the sake of quality among the few and let 2.5 million young Zambians languish on the streets becoming potential criminals. So this free education, number one, it freed resources for more investment at home at a family level. Number two, it opened the doors for many future professionals that this country will depend on for it to grow. Above that, this free education is creating future innovatives, future creatives, future leaders, future even, craftsmen, sports people, all those people. Education opens so many opportunities you do not have to bind yourself to the academic pathway. Even politicians. So, free education is a massive thing. If I'm to start talking about how big this is, trust me, this free education, give it 10 years, the impact will be immeasurable. Because families are benefiting. Me, I'm speaking from experience because at home we have 3 children that go to school. And on top of that, this government is very strategic because they never removed the boarding fees. Boarding schools like where I was, they are paying 1,000. But even there, government did not fold hands and say, no, whoever manages goes, who does not manage, they will go to day school. They have brought in CDF loans for students that are going to boarding schools. I speak as a first-hand witness of what I saw. Children are going to school on CDF loans to boarding schools, high-level boarding schools. This government, if there is a government that should say, going forward, leaving no one behind, it is the UPND government. Because its achievements, the things it has done, are impacting everyone across the board, regardless of political affiliation. And that is why Barry was right when he said, those boys should thank me because their children are going to school for free. It is not only those two that are aspiring to read, but everyone under them. if you start checking one by one, you will find that they have children that are benefiting from free education. What will that do? It is creating opportunities for young Zambians who are innocent to know anything about the emotional politics that people want to play over here. Let us move. School enrollment. Of course, because of the free education, school enrollment has skyrocketed. It has skyrocketed to over 2.5 million. That is how we are moving. Those 2.5 million are 2.5 families. 2.5 potential leaders, 2.5 educated Zambians, 2.5 potential innovators, potential electricians, potential engineers, potential lab technologists, potential pharmacists, potential doctors. That is what that 2.5 is all about. So don't trivialize it. You know, they are sitting on the floor. There are too many in class. So if there are too many in class, would you rather have them at home? I think we need to be a bit serious with how we look at these things. We need to be a bit real. Because if we are not real with how we look at things, we end up thinking that this is a trivial thing, and yet it is a nation. Bari was voted in by 2.8 million Zambians. If you are telling me that 2.5 million children don't matter, who will vote for the president in 2036? The more informed the population is, the better their choice of leaders. The better their consistency at choosing the right leaders. That's how it works. The less informed the community is, the higher the likeliness that they can be manipulated emotionally, like many people are being manipulated right now. So, school enrollment has jumped to 2.5 million. Now we are going to teachers. PF employed 1,000 teachers in 2021 only. And the records have it that over the 7 years that President Lungu was in power, they employed only, I think over the 10 years, they employed about 7,000 teachers. Then Ibarra announced that I'm employing 30,000 teachers. They said, you are lying, where will you get the money? Children of God, I want us to be real. I just love to be real with what I'm talking about. Even if Ibarra has so many relatives to be corrupt with, even if his ministers have so many relatives to be corrupt with, where can he get 30,000 people to corrupt the government? Because these allegations have been coming. No, there's corruption. Well, I'm a bearer of bad news. Those 30,000 teachers, you can't tell me that there was corruption in their recruitment. I know people that were farming at the village there. They had even gotten married. They were in the village where I come from. They celebrated because they were employed without paying no kobo, no cent. They were employed. And that speaks to credibility once again. 30,000 teachers at once. Cumulatively, over the 5 years that Barry has been in power, 42,000 teachers. That is more than the number of teachers that were employed over the past 20 years, all put it together. So after seeing that he has increased the number of pupils, Barry knew that from free education, more pupils will come in. When more pupils come in, they will need more teachers. That's why he employed more teachers. And this is why when you are listening, if you listened to him this morning, he was saying, policies must speak one to another. That is what it means. You cannot have so many pupils, no teachers. Barry is a reasoning president. He's not like some people that I will not mention, that are always talking about, we built hospitals, we built schools, but they never employed health workers, they never employed teachers, they never bought medicines. You wanted us to be healed, to be treated by empty walls of concrete and cement. It doesn't work like that. Policies must speak one to another. That's Barry's wisdom. He employed 42,000 teachers over the past 4 years. In fact, he started employing in 2022. So over the past 4 years, Barry has employed 42,000 teachers. That is the kind of a man I'm here to tell you to vote for. Because that man is capable of doing anything. As long as it is humanly possible. He will go to any length, any depth, to put his country first and put his country in a better place. And this is why I'm ready to risk it. To come here and be called a cadre, because I know I'm carrying out a patriotic mandate. Whatever you call me does not matter. What matters is after you have called me, what does Zambia become? That is what matters to me. And what Zambia becomes after Bari, it becomes a nation that is able to produce 10 million metric tons of maize, 10,000 megawatts of power, 5 million tourist arrivals. What else? 3 million metric tons of rice. 3 million metric tons, of wheat. 3 million metric tons of soybeans. And then you have 1 million metric tons of sugar. You have $1 billion worth of beef exports. That is what Zambia becomes. Now when people hear these numbers, they think it's just a joke, it's just someone speaking from nowhere. These are opportunities for this country to grow. These are opportunities for me and you to invest in our domestic economy, to make our domestic economy grow, to make our domestic economy develop and become an economy that is self-sustaining. When I have money, when you have money, when our country has money, how will the cost of living be high? That is the thinking of Bari. He wants to give us money, but we have to work for it. That free money, more money in your pockets is gone. In any case, it is unsustainable. Try to win money on that aeroplane that people pack money, then it flies and it explodes in the air. That's when you understand that money that you have not worked for does not last. But when you are growing as a nation, as a person, as a family, you'll be able to see how you move from one level to another. And that is what Bari is doing. Farmers, right now, as I'm talking, they are being paid. And I'll come to that later on. Classrooms. Bari brought in free education, more pupils, employed more teachers. But there was still one question in the equation. There was still one variable that needed to be sorted out, and that is it, classrooms. I'm on number 19. So Bari has built over 2,800 classrooms over the past 5 years. That is the Bari I'm telling you about. Now people trivialize these things. You know, when they go to this one constituency, they say, "Vakulirefe ka classroom kamo, vakulirefe ka broku kamo, ife tware kure skuru, twakura boarding imo." Children of God, be serious with your thinking. You cannot have everyone congested in one place. And that is the thinking of Bari. He's a man who wants to decentralize. He wants his services to be available in my own community, among my own people. That is why, instead of going on a nationwide construction of Tamangako Technical School there, of course he has built schools. But he measured through CDF on construction of classrooms that addressed the disseminated increment of pupils and teachers in local schools. The only way you would have sorted that is to increase the number of classrooms. And like having a school here and a school there, which we can't afford, by the way. What can we do? Let us increase the space in already constructed schools. That is the thinking of the man who is leading this country. That is how he reasons. At least from my understanding. Now let's move. Let's go to secondary schools that have been constructed. About 166 new secondary schools have been completed or constructed in this period. That's according to parliament reports. You can go and check those records are there for you to see. Not if Muranda, no, no school, they have just been building doors and toilets. Do you know Bari? Do you know Bari, a man who was able to construct a hospital using his money alone? Let's be serious. Let's be serious. We are moving school feeding program. Now, this one is interesting for me because I experienced it I think in the time when that was 2007, when I was in grade 2. There was some sort of helps that they would cook at school, then would go with the plates they would give us, then there were all those reports, this money is coming from America, pop, our stories. I don't want to mention who we are. But I remember how this was good. After a long period of time seated in class, you come out of class, you go and find the food waiting for you outside. Small or big, whatever the amount, it just meant a whole lot. Because we were covering kilometers of walking distance to go home. And this is what Bari has brought across the country. 4.7 million learners benefiting from the school feeding program. Across the 106, across 106 districts. Now, This addresses two important things. Number one, it motivates pupils. You give them free education, they are still not motivated, at least motivate them by food. This is a body who does not want to leave any child uneducated in this country. Probably because he understands. Because he understands what it means not to be educated. He understands what it means not to have opportunity because you do not have the necessary requisite knowledge to be able to appreciate opportunity. So, this program has been brought in place. Number one, it motivates the pupils. Number two, it looks at the malnutrition. Malnutrition, by the way, in case at home you don't have any malnourished child, you are not malnourished yourself, there are a lot of children that are struggling to meet their metabolic needs on a daily basis. And so this program also speaks to giving a healthy status to our learners, our pupils. Science tells me that when you are malnourished, when you do not have proper nutrition, you also deteriorate in your intellectual capabilities. So you are teaching a pupil who is just yawning throughout, they are not understanding anything. What happens? They will not understand. Eventually they will fail, you call them down, but it's just the circumstances at home. So when anybody brings in the school feeding program, he's sorting out a lot of issues in there. And this is why I'm telling you that Barry is a man who takes a problem and looks at it holistically. He does not only look at this one part. I was talking about debt restructuring. It comes all the way down to credibility. Education, free education comes all the way to the nutrition of the pupil, so that they can then appreciate and get to benefit really in real terms from this free education. Okay, let me go to Keep Girls in School. Keep Girls in School is an old initiative, quite understandably. But as of 2021, it had 38,551 girls benefiting under the Keep Girls in School. If you don't know about it, you can actually try to look it up. If you are a girl who needs to go to school, all those things, you can start looking at it. I think they are also sponsoring some pupils, some students in higher learning institutions. I know of a few institutions where some of the people are being sponsored there by Keep Girls in School initiative. But let me tell you this. From 38,000 beneficiaries in 2021, as of 2025, there were 127,233 young girls being kept in school. These are mothers, future mothers. These are future home binders, people that are able to hold everyone together, being kept in school. So Barry looks at it, he says, I've given free education, yes, I've given meal allowances, I've given this, I've given that. But specifically for the girl child, is Keep Girls in School, and he has skyrocketed. This growth, I think, is over 300% growth. Because 300% should be speaking to about 100 or somewhere there. So about 400% increment in Keep Girls in School initiative beneficiaries. Then there's also the geographical coverage of the Keep Girls in School. In 2021, it was at 39 districts. This year, it is at 95 districts. That is how, it's just that there are certain things that you can't change. There are certain things that you can't change for people to see them in a certain way. But I'll be very honest with you. Initially, I sat down and said, this man has delivered so much, my vote will not be important. Let me just sit at home. People vote for him. But then I looked and said, the number of people that are choosing ignorance over visible data has increased. So I made up my mind that tomorrow, 03 hours, I'll be lining up to go and vote. And let me use this opportunity to tell you, my dear sister, my brother, my mother, my father, uncle, auntie, in case you have that voter's card in your hands, and you are thinking that someone else will make Barry win, you are thinking that someone else will keep girls in school, you are thinking that someone else will keep free education coming for you, you are thinking that someone else will keep feeding the pupils at school without the participation of your vote, you are making a big mistake. Polish your voter's card, put your age close to it. Tomorrow, be at the polling station, vote for Barry. Because if you make that mistake, last time I was explaining that by not choosing to vote, you are choosing for another person's vote to be dominant because you have reduced the number of votes in favor of your candidate. So there's nothing like, me, I didn't participate in Hichilema. No. Takuri okuikarafye bamayo. Munina, takuri okuikarafye. All of us have a role to play in this. And this is why I'm taking my time to sit here and tell you that tomorrow, go and vote. Go and vote for a man with a vision. Okay, let's move. Menstrual hygiene. Menstrual hygiene, of course, this is for girls. In 2021, only 186,000 girls were benefiting under the same Keep Girls in School initiative. Right now, there are 1.7 million. And you are going to see how this trend of increment is moving across the board. TVET enrollment, you know, TVET is technical, technical courses, those people that go to do technical programs, tailoring and everything. In 2021, there was about an enrollment of 38,000 learners. But as at now, I mean, in 2024, in fact, 2 years ago, we are talking about 96,000. So right now, it could be even about 150. That is how Barry values holistic approach to problems. You know that there are people that are not talented in this straight academic pathway. But these are people that are talented in terms of skills. These are people that are able to do proper carpentry. These are people that are able to do proper domestic electrification. These are people that are able to do proper tailoring and designing. But he says not all our youth in this country go to university and start studying for 5 years. He has brought in these TVET programs. 3 years, some of them even 6 months. You are in school, you are there, you are empowered with a certificate and a skill. You go and make money, you start employing others. Just yesterday, I was listening on radio to this man who says, I'm in Chawama and I'm working as a carpenter. Is it a plumber or a carpenter? One of the two. And I've employed over 50 youths. He never went to school to go and spend 7 years studying books and reading a lot of notes. But he's creating opportunities for young people. And that is the reasoning that Bad is trying to bring in our Zambian mindset. That everyone, there is no one who is a chikopo, and Bad understands that. That is why opportunities are created for everyone, depending on where your strength is. If your strength is in academics, go academic, go and get free education, finish your grade 12, go to university, enjoy meal allowances, government bursaries, continue. If you are talented in music, Barry also has put in place means and ways of supporting musicians. There are equipments that you don't have to pay any tax when you are importing those ones. So now, school desks. School desks, I think it's just a continuation, as I have said. Barry addresses a problem and finishes it completely. 1.6 million desks have been supplied across the country. I can tell you, myself as a grade 1 pupil, I used to sit on the floor. Ngawai manina, so you are very white kumbuyo. Everyone is surprised. But we never used to get surprised because it was the normal for us. We didn't know that there would come a Barry who would care about his children sitting on the floor. Grade 12 performance. Grade 12 performance, as a result of all these measures that have been put in place, has it skyrocketed to 70% as of 2025. It is the highest recorded in this country ever since independence. 70% grade 12 pass rate. So now when I contextualize, I say 70% pupils or students, pupils that wrote grade 12 passed, meaning they qualified to proceed. What about the 30%? That is where the TVET institutions come in. That is where skills training comes in, to ensure that even these that might not be able to proceed to tertiary education, that might not be able to rewrite and pass to go to tertiary education, they should not miss an opportunity to be economically viable within their nation. We are moving. Now we are going to the education budget. The education budget, of course, it has been increasing. It has been increasing because of, the same debt restructuring that happened, the need for teachers, need for teaching materials and everything. The education budget has grown. The Keep Girls in School initiative, we have already talked about it. Teacher deployment, of course. teacher deployment has been massive under the New Dawn government. And on top of that, they have said we are not going to continue separating couples, breaking homes. There is an initiative now under the New Dawn government where couples can now apply to go and be in the same place so that they can raise their children together as responsible young people in this country. That is what I'm talking about. Let's move. We are going to health. Now, in the health sector, over the past 5 years, Bari has employed 18,000 health workers. Now, it does not matter what kind of health worker you are. The point and the bottom line is that with the employment of an additional individual as a health worker in the Ministry of Health to work here in Zambia, we are improving healthcare delivery to our communities. And you have to understand that while many of us look at disease as just, nadwaras, nimveramushen, fever, shan, the fact actually is that with the disease comes an economic value to it. Disease is an expense in an economy. If you have more people that are sick, you have less people that are available to work and make money grow the economy. You have more people demanding for drugs to be treated. You have more people using health facilities, thereby reducing their value over time due to wear and tear. Now, if you address healthcare issues, you liberate a lot of resources. And that is just what Bari did. 18,000 additional health workers. We are moving. Health facilities. Bari has built 282 health facilities over the past 5 years. That is his record. We are moving. We are moving. Essential medicines. Now this is important because medicines under the PF availability was at around 44%. Only 44%. Today we are standing at 85%. It's not the best we can have, but it is far much better than what we had then. Almost double the availability of medicines. That is what Bari is capable of doing. And he did it. Immunization, we jumped from 75% to now 81%. These are details that are available at Parliament. Maternity infrastructure, Bari has made sure that across all constituencies, maternity annexes are being constructed to make sure that no mother delivers away from a health facility in the absence of a trained health worker to help give safe delivery services to that mother. And this has significantly also reduced in terms of maternal mortality rates. It is extremely important for our country. Let's move. Let's go to primary health care. Of course, due to these facilities, you now have more health posts, you have more clinics, you have more maternity wings, all these things. We are increasing and we are improving as a country. And as I said, health of a nation is a key component of economic growth. If you have a disease-burdened population, you have an unproductive population. So this and these are not just numbers. This is productivity. This is national growth. This is economic liberation. This is national productivity. These are exports because the more people are healthy, the more people are available to work, the more experts are there, the more are being trained to be professionals, and eventually the more healthy the country is, the more productive we become. Specialist health care, I think this also has been something that was recently being talked about. We have so many people being now trained, but also we have specialist facilities being put in place, like the Cancer Disease Hospital here was just equipped with the new equipment to help with cancer treatment in the country, making it the third after South Africa and Egypt in Africa. Arata breaking a record in Monomucha. My record here, everybody has broken, and this is why I'm going to continue and tell you the rest of the many achievements that Bari has achieved. Rural health, that is the CDF component that has built maternity annexes, a lot of health posts, a lot of people being deployed into the rural communities to ensure that the health delivery is not only limited to urban constituencies. Even people in the rural areas do deserve to actually have quality health care. Then maternity services, of course, we have talked about that. Medicine supply chain, medicine availability was a major public concern as of 2021, but government now reports that substantial improvement has reached approximately 5% improvement in the medicine supply chain. Staffing, of course, we have talked about healthcare staffing, and the staffing is important because if you are going to build maternity annexes, you are going to need midwives to be stationed there. You are going to need healthcare professionals that are going to be there, sonographers that are able to see what is happening to the baby, that are able to diagnose everything right there. Only refer when it is necessary. And this is why staffing is extremely important. And once again, I repeat, Barry addresses the problems and addresses them holistically. Employed health workers, builds a lot of maternity wings, annexes. He builds a lot of rural healthcare facilities. He also brings in now the actual staffing, the medicines themselves, from 44% availability to 85% in 2026. So this is the kind of a president, this is the mindset. And this is why, once again, I repeat, when I'm listening to any presidential candidate trying to convince me to go and vote for them, I ask myself, what better alternative is this one bringing to me, apart from the fact that we are hungry, because we have always been hungry. And so are many other people in other countries. Let's move. CDF jumped from 1.6 million per constituency to 40 million now in 2026. I was reading DJ Mzengaman's post some 2 days ago, and he was saying, as we never thought that it can be done like that. This man just shocked all of us. And that is what Barry is. He shocks you. He delivers to the level whereby you are shocked. And that's why I'm also shocked that people don't seem to understand the kind of things this man has done. Trust me. If it wasn't for Barry, you don't know how much you would have been buying fuel. You don't know how much you would have been buying minimum. Not to talk about the dollar, because the dollar right now, I think it would have been flying like a aviator. Now we are talking about local schools, of course. Under the CDF, we have constructed a lot of youth facilities. We have constructed a lot of classrooms. We have improved water supply, water and sanitation facilities. We have built markets under CDF. So many markets. Go in Lusaka, Kukomesa there, you are going to find a very beautiful market that was constructed by the UPND government. Go to, I was talking about city market there. Go to city market. You know these things, go and see them for yourself. Visible. Simon Iwamwa market, of course, that one was started in the previous administration, but has also been well staffed there to make sure that marketeers, our mothers and fathers, our aunties and uncles working in those ends are also well catered for. Once again, Barry does not only address you as a student, does not only address problems facing marketeers, does not only address problems facing farmers. Barry addresses everyone at their points of need. That is what Barry does. Let's move to number 53. We are going to police posts. Now this is important. Under CDF, most of the constituencies have constructed constituency-based police posts. But in addition to that, under CDF, 156 ambulances were bought and delivered to constituencies. 156 police land cruisers. In our position, whether you pray for me to stop talking, to start choking, I'm going to continue talking until you hear. Because you are patriots, I know, but you are misinformed patriots. So we need to help you mutate into the right kind of patriots that are going to dedicate their energy for the betterment of the country and not for massaging anyone's emotions. Let's move. Roads. Under Constituency Development Fund, we have bought a lot of road construction machinery. And in the villages, you know, I was surprised when I went back home to find that they have a big, you know, these tippers just stationed there waiting for the road to get damaged. You can imagine that. That is the kind of thinking. So now, here's the mindset. Here's the mindset. You have health workers that you are transferring into rural constituencies. Okay? You have so many people that are coming from rural constituencies coming into schools in the urban centers. Tertiary education, that is. You are increasing, you are growing economic activity. The only way You get to move goods and services from interior Zambia to urban centers, to economic centers, is through the road. And the road starts right from that field where I'm planting the maize, down to my home. From my home to the FRA depot or to the market. So Barry has addressed this problem at different levels. But most importantly under CDF, I think I must mention, when you are going to vote, colleagues, make sure you vote for councillors that think, you vote for MPs that think. And that's why Barry has been talking about the suit kind of voting, because he has personally seen that these people are capable to work with me. Don't just vote because I have a voter's card, councillor T, because those are the people that are going to decide how the 40 million that will come to your constituency will be used. Those are the people that are going to decide which village is going to receive a classroom block, which village is going to receive a maternity wing, which village is going to receive, or which compound is going to receive a water supply system, so water and sanitation facilities. So vote for people that think. And once again, I emphasize, detach your emotions from national development. Detach your emotions from detach your tribe. Umutundu. Fifunyani kwa ifyo, because when you are hungry, it doesn't matter whether you are Tonga or you are Bemba. When you are beaten, when you are being beaten by cadres, it doesn't matter whether you are Bemba, whether you are Tonga. When you are being when your merchandise is being gotten from you in the market, it doesn't matter whether you are Runda or you are Ruba, you are Rose, whatever the tribe, the pain goes straight into your chest as an individual, regardless of your tribe, regardless of how angry or happy you are about this election. So apply your mind to this election. Apply your mind to every election, because with every election that we are having as a country, we are deciding what direction we are going to move in. At a ward level, you are deciding what kind of projects are going to come. At a constituency level, you are deciding what kind of laws your member of parliament is going to bring in parliament to represent you. At a mayoral level, you are deciding who is going to head development in your district. At a presidential, you are deciding the direction the entire nation is going to move. You are deciding who is going to be the PR number one of the nation. You are deciding who is going to be the mouthpiece of the nation. You are deciding who will be the number one brain of the nation. The moment you trivialize those choices, we end up being poor like we are today, 64 years after independence. 62 years after independence. Right now, we can talk about countries that grew in only 30 years, from third world country to mid-income and first class, first world country. Singapore is there as an evidence, as a piece of evidence. I was privileged a few weeks ago to read about how Singapore grew. And it all took one dedicated man. Lee Kuan Yew. He just put himself to make sure that he detaches his personal needs, his individual needs, just like Barry is doing. But you know what the Singaporeans did? They were voting for him to continue being the prime minister. Until Singapore now grew, it commanded the respect of the countries like the United States of America. And yet it is just a small piece. When you look at Singapore on your map, you can go and look it up. So it is possible for citizens to choose the right direction for their country. But for us to be able to reach at that point, we need to detach our emotions. We need to detach our mouths. We need to detach them from the vote. Then we are going to make the right choices of who should be president, who should be member of parliament, who should be mayor, who should be councillor. Because these are not light decisions. Centuries to come, people will talk about this election. Decades to come, our children will experience the impact of the choice we are making tomorrow. So let us take this very serious. Let us take this election very serious, just like we should take every other election very serious. Youth and women empowerment, there are CDF grants, there are a lot of CDF loans that were issued. Even if we didn't pay back those loans and the grants, now they are being frozen. But again, it also speaks to the information that citizens have. And this is why free education is important. Because it does not only empower you to be academically successful, it exposes you to basic knowledge about almost everything. Financial management, financial discipline, investment, economic growth. Basic things you'll be able to understand. And that is why Barry is insistent on ensuring that free education continues. Let's quickly move to skills training. I think skills training, we have talked about it. We are moving to number 59, and we are talking about local decision making. Once again, I'm emphasizing local decision making means that the ward councillor you are choosing, the member of parliament. Now, members of parliament are part of the councils, so make sure you choose that right person who knows the needs of your community. Not even people that cannot make decisions for the people. Choose members of parliament that are going to work with the president to ensure that development reaches your doorstep. If you have not seen development now, I can assure you that there is a 95% likeliness that you chose a wrong member of parliament in 2021 who does not know how to advocate for his people. You chose a wrong ward councillor who does not know what you need as the people that he represents. Equity of resource distribution. We are talking about now CDF being distributed. Let me share with you. In parliament, it was a daily cry from the members of parliament for them to receive 1.6 million. They were crying. I remember when the likes of Mwetwa, Cornelius Mwetwa, those people are always crying that they are not receiving CDF. Right now, the best performing member of parliament under this CDF program, you can argue with me, is your own fault, but I'll tell you, he's called Sunday Chanda. That man was a PF member of parliament. CDF was reaching him, and he brought development to his people. And that is what we are talking about when we say equity and equality of resource distribution across the country, across different constituencies. And once again, it speaks to one message. Barry does not want to leave anyone behind. Does not want to leave any single place behind. We are moving. Now we are going to agriculture. Oko tusangu. Agriculture. You know, in the 2023-2024 farming season, there was a very bad drought. Very bad drought, such that I mentioned last time that I was actually watching maize getting dry and I was hoping to eat fresh, but there was nothing fresh to eat because water had gone. But this government has bounced back from that almost hunger-stricken nation. Now we are around 5 million metric tons of maize being purchased by government in the previous farming season, and we are headed for more this year. Farmers are being paid right now as I'm talking. They are selling their maize and getting paid. Now, that is... okay, you know, the mindset of the way Barry does things. He does things in such a way that those things that you are thinking that the government will do it in 2047, he does it this year. People are receiving money right now. You can quit election, campaign, whatever you want to quit, but the fact remains that they are receiving their money, the money they worked for. And for me, I always tell people, if you are going to come to me and tell me that that is only being done because it is politics, tell me that when it is bad for the nation, then I'll be concerned. But if someone is doing politics by making the nation better, then those are the politics I need. Those are the politics. That is the patriotism that I need. Because a nation will not grow by being morally correct only if we are not patriotically sound. That is not how it works. So if you are going to tell me, this looks good, there's no one who can question it, I don't care who questions it. What I care about is, if the farmer brings the maize, are you giving him the full amount? Is he going to be able to invest back into his economy as a home, as a family? Then you are doing something right, whether you are doing it for politics or you are doing it for whatever thing. The fact is, tomorrow I'm going to vote for Barry. Not only because he's giving them, he's paying farmers on time, but because of the other many things that he has not left anyone behind, including improving roads for farmers to move their produce from their farms to the depots, including roads that are being constructed to ensure that key urban centers, key markets are well connected. And I'll come to that. It will be very interesting. Let's go to maize yield. This has also drastically improved. And we're headed. Now here there's good news. Because Barry is saying we want to increase it. Now we are at about 5 million metric tons. We want to go to 10 million metric tons of maize. What that means is that farmer who was producing 20 bags, Barry is challenging that farmer to now produce 40. Isn't that growth? Isn't that the economy that we are? And this is exactly the same thing I was talking about last time, that you cannot have a low cost of living when the people are not productive. It can't happen. Because the cost of living goes down in response to the productivity of the individual citizens of the nation. So the more productive you are, the more money becomes available, comes to your hands, so that now you can afford what you are calling the expensive cost of living. So now, if we go to 10 million, Barry is challenging that farmer who was bringing out 10 bags, go to 20. He's saying you who was bringing 100 bags, go to 200. You who was bringing 1,000, go to 2,000. Our rural communities are going to be booming. Kuzankara economy. I'm begging you, go and buy a farm. Let's go and do agriculture. There's money coming. Because on top of that agriculture of maize, there's also soybeans. There's also wheat. There's also a lot of other areas of investment. Except these are the major, the 10, 5, 3, 3, 1, 1, 1. Those are the major areas that have been captured in the campaign theme, in the manifesto of the UPND. But there are many other areas that are yet to be talked about. And as Barry mentioned, they are being discussed. Very soon, the nation will be happy. Let's move. Drought recovery, of course, I've talked about that. Other people that have been talking about the drought even now. Me, I still remember how these guys were in... You know, I can't wait to reach on energy because I need to shoot some people. I need to shoot some people because there are people that have been peddling lies, perpetuating the existence of wrong information among us in the public here. We need to tell them to their faces that don't talk. Don't talk. If you still have some food in your mouth, you will choke. Food security. Of course, when we increase the productivity in agriculture, food security gets well. Input distribution. Now, this is interesting because people claim that people started sharing in medals in 2021. That is a lie. Number one, that's a lie. The only thing, you need to understand the thinking of the PF. If you don't understand how they think, you will be struggling, sweating every day thinking that things are going wrong. And yet, it is just a few select individuals. We are not saying that farming inputs are enough as it is now. What we are saying is that farming inputs can reach more people, can bring about more growth. But at the same time, it is not true to claim that people started sharing medals in 2021 because my mother was sharing bags of fertilizer as early as 2015. Us were the ones who are going to get that shared fertilizer. Me. So don't come to me and tell me that they started sharing medals in 2021. No. Why people sharing medals is because of careless generosity. You give your neighbor a bit, you share the cost of getting those. Then at the end of the day, the farm does not benefit because you end up distributing fertilizer that is meant for half a hectare across a field of 4 hectares. Then a lot of maize looks dark. Before you know it, rain washes away the fertilizer and everything goes. That is why people share. They just do it out of generosity. But I think they need to be empowered with the knowledge that what we want as a government is for you to use the entire fertilizer in your field, grow. In 5, 3, 4 years, you get off this program so that neighbor you wanted to help can equally grow like yourself. And like sharing maize, sharing fertilizer across many fields that is meant for one field, then you end up creating a net zero effect across those many fields. So this idea, no, in the southern province, I don't know if anyone from southern province is watching here, but I will need you to confirm how many bags you are getting of fertilizer before 2021. It is only under Barry that this distribution of fertilizer has been standardized across the country. In any case, it has now been customized, if I may use that word, to the specific needs of the farming block that you are in. We have now a situation where farmers can go and get soybeans seed and a few other crops that are selected for each of the different parts of Zambia. But bottom line is that fertilizer distribution has been far more efficient under the UPND than ever it would have been under the PF. Evidence is there on the ground. Go and talk to farmers. They will tell you. Go and talk to farmers. Unless you go and ask a cadre who was getting fertilizer directly from Ministry of Agriculture. But if it is those farmers that are in cooperatives back home, they were sharing fertilizer. Thank God Barry came and made sure that across the board. And my message to the farmers out there is that now, let us start doing smart agriculture. Where when we receive inputs, put in your field, grow as a farmer, have muscle. In 3-4 years, get off the FISI program so that other people can benefit. Once you grow, you start helping others to grow. Eventually, the entire community, the entire village, the entire district grows. And that is how we become financially stable. That is how we get to gain our financial freedom. Let's move. Food security, I've already talked about. Diversification, of course, there has been now, in 2021, 2022, there was that issue of cashew nuts, which never went well. I think we needed to research a little bit more, but that was being championed by the New Dawn government, and money was made available, except we, the farmers, did not avail ourselves to do the farming. Irrigation farming is the part of the talk of the town. This is one of the reasons why we want to increase power from the current consumption of about 2.5 I think to 3 megawatts of power, where we can now go as far as 10 megawatts of power, so that we have an extreme surplus to be able to electrify, or rather to power these irrigation systems at the local level. That is what Barry is telling us. That is the direction we are putting in, and that is in the vision. I'm not talking about things to praise anyone here. I'm not praising Barry from without. I'm talking about things that have been done, things that are visible, things that are readable. You can go and read, check the internet, go and check for yourself. Real life. Real life. Not just, some crowded speech. You are just talking about, now it wachura sana. We love Zambians, we want to put Zambians at the center. Which center of what? Now Zambians are in the periphery of Zambia. Don't we see Zambians in central Lusaka Central Business District here? And they are at the center of this policy of Barry. Who is benefiting from free education if not the Zambians? Who is benefiting from increased CDF, those maternity annexes being built, those CDF ambulances, those running cruisers that were sent, police running cruisers? Who is benefiting? That is the Zambian that Barry has been always putting at the center, even without saying it. Why should someone now come and tell me that, we have decided to put Zambia at the center? No, we are already at the center. Tell us something more, give us more substance. Love is not enough. How many times have people confessed that I love you so much and eventually they cheat? Not spoken love. We need tangible evidence. Tangible things that we can hold you accountable. And now, before I can even move, because this is not part of the delivery plan that Barry has brought for this country. Of course, under the crops we're talking about, sorghum, millet, all these are being expanded. Extension services are being expanded. Value addition also being championed by this New Dawn government. We are talking about agricultural, economic diversification. So we want to invest into climate-resistant crops, and that is what has been happening. Government is putting in place different. Last time I was talking about soybeans. There are other things that you can go to the Ministry of Agriculture and take part in, get empowered to do things. Let's move. I was saying that there's this narrative. Nobody talks too much. He just talks. You know what is good about talking? Someone who talks is someone you can hold accountable. Someone who says things, I'll do this for you, I'll do this for you, is someone you can hold accountable. But you ladies that are here or that might come tomorrow to watch this video, if a guy comes to you and says, me, I love you. You love me. Okay. So, what is there in this love? I mean, I just love you. In my heart, you are in the center of my heart. I just love you so much. Well, the girls I proposed to would have said no if a guy came like that. Where's it still if you are proposing marriage? There's nothing to show for what you have done. The only thing you have is the love. When we work together, when you tell me what you need, when you, complain, I'll know that this is what you need, I'll deliver. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. How it works is that you tell me, I hear. You tell the girl, I'll build you a house. My future, how I'm planning to live it from here. I want to be a teacher. When I become a teacher, I want to become a head teacher. At least there is some sort of a path that we are following in this couple, whatever it may be. That is how it works. No, this guy who just says, me, I love you in the center of my heart at the bottom. When the heart does not even have a bottom in any case. No, we need tangible plans, not issue. Let's move. Copper production. Under copper production, I think I should not superira too much. Let me superira here. Copper production has jumped from 733 metric tons to 821 metric tons. Of course, this jump is small for one reason. Because most of the mines were either in liquidation, they were not operating at all, or they were stuck in illegal battles. And once again, that credibility I talked about at first, Barry came in and he pulled the people out of court. Come here, let us talk. They knew this is a serious guy and they listened. Together they agreed, and now our minds are buzzing. Work is happening on the copper belt. Work is happening in Northwestern Province. FQM is paying taxes. That is how an economy works. You can't just have this kind of chipanti-panti approach. Today the cadre says this, tomorrow the sister to the cadre says this, the other day the minister says this, the other day the minister is disrupting in Kabata. What are you saying? So, Kansanshi investment, of course, there is a 1.2 billion investment into Kansanshi mine there. Then there is also Mopani. Mopani has now been structured and pressed under new investment. Then there's KCM or that PF. It depends me whenever I think about KCM, because the KCM was pressed under, provisional liquidation, and there was a provisional liquidator called Mingorungu. And those issues went to court and they were resolved, whatever they were resolved. But the point is, this mine was pressed under liquidation because government and the investor could not agree. And because government and the investor could not agree, Zambians suffered. They were not getting the tax they should have been collecting from there. And so, it goes without saying that the credibility that HH has come with, the respect that he commands on the global stage, is why now KCM is about to be listed on the stock exchange abroad. Copper target. We are now talking about 3 million metric tons. That is an achievement in itself. The starting point of success is planning. Failure to plan is planning to fail. And this is why I keep telling you, you can't trust a man who just says, I love you. No plan of how to express that love. That never works. Mineral exploration, critical minerals, of course, all these are issues. I remember there was a time that even a minister was fired over these same things. Mineral regulation. Now, the mining sector was poorly regulated in Zambia. And this is why now we have a Minerals Regulation Commission Act that specifically outlines how mines are going to be regulated in this country, how our minerals are going to be exploited. There is even a Local Content Act now. This local content now tells investors in the mining sector, that for your spending, for your every spending, at least starting this 2026, you have to start with the 20% of your spending should be within the local economy. Then now from 20% it will keep rising. After 5 years it should reach 40%. That means that the money that is being invested into mining, instead of you focusing on the money that the investor is making from his investment. I mean, you cannot invest in a business if you're not making money. So it should not pain us Zambians when we see investors making money from our minerals. What we should do instead is to ourselves put in place measures to ensure that miners, those investors, can see benefit in selling their minerals within here. But before we can reach there, Barry says we are going to put in place a provision within these contracts that every mining expenditure, 20% of it should go into the local economy, and after 5 years, it should reach a maximum of 40%. That is the money circulating within the local economy. And so you don't have to be the investor yourself, or the investor does not have to be a Zambian for Zambia to benefit. And that is the direction that we are moving with Barry. That's where we are going. We are on number 84. Number 85. Mining investment. Of course, I've talked about this. Mining diplomats. I've talked about putting people out of court to bring them to the table. Instead of fighting in any situation, even in a relationship, if you are always bound to prove who is right, it will never work. But when you are able to sit down on the table and say, okay, Mwana, this is what I want, this is what you want, how do we meet at the center? That is what Barry does. That is what we are calling mining diplomats. Now we are talking about the Lobito Corridor. The Lobito Corridor is being opened to connect Zambia directly from here through Angola to the Atlantic Ocean, opening more ports of entry, more ports of export for our minerals and our finished products. So these are investments that Barry has achieved, and some of them are underway, soon to be completed. Value addition in minerals. I was just talking about an industry in Chibombo there. They are making these transformers, electricals, everything, and many other. There's now that wonderful group investment park. There's the Lusaka South Multi-Facility Economic Zone. Then there's of course that Chibombo and there are other economic camps that are being opened in various provinces to ensure that our minerals do not get exported as raw products or raw materials. They should be exported. Let us start exporting chips. Let us start exporting phones. And you cannot encourage people to come and invest in that if your mining supply or value chain is dead. You only get to see investors coming to settle here when they know that, okay, this raw material is in good supply. This raw material is in good supply. This policy is clear and directed. The next president after Barry should be a serious man, not a joker. And so far, I've not seen that serious man. Copper belt, of course, investment on the copper belt. And things are there for people to see. If you go on the copper belt, you'll see for yourself. I hope some of you have families on the copper belt so that you can actually be able to verify some of these things, because when you are listening to them on Facebook, they sound like some sort of a joke, but thousands of people are being employed on the copper belt because of investment in mining. So it is not only about the investor making money. The way these things work is that when you are empowering them, when you empower them, you are giving them capacity to contribute to the local economy. When you give them capacity to put money in the local economy, you are uplifting that particular community. When you uplift that particular community and you uplift every other community, you have uplifted the country. You have uplifted the nation. Roads. I've talked about rural roads under CDF. Then now here the major one that I want us to talk about is the Lusaka Radio Carriageway. The Lusaka Radio Carriageway is there for us to see. But here's the mindset. I talked about those Tumafida roads, those roads, small roads in the interiors that are being linked to medium roads that are now being linked to these major roads. The problem that we've had over the years is that the Lusaka Radio Carriageway has been a source of a lot of problems. There are a lot of people have lost their lives. Why they have lost their lives? Because this road has been so busy and it was small. PF came in, I was laughing in 2018, 2019, when PF said that the 90% of the Lusaka Radio Carriageway was done. Nothing was there. Nothing was there to show for it. But Barry has done this, and very soon, in fact, he went to inspect it. Very soon, everything will be done. This is not only about you moving from Lusaka to Ndora, no. This is about facilitating for the movement of goods and services from one part of the country to another efficiently and timely. Now, this is the mindset. The farmer produces. The products have to be transported to processing centers. From processing centers, the end products have to be taken back to the farmer. For that to happen, you need a functional communication and transport network. And that is why Barry has invested heavily in roads as well, and expect more as we go into 2026 to 2031, because massive things are coming into this country, and all of us will just stand and watch and say, wow, this man is wise. Let's move. The Tazara, of course, the Tazara rail line, that one has been a talk of the day. Very soon, great things are coming out of there. But most importantly, you have to know again, the diplomacy credibility at the international level, the importance of that. Barry brought China, Tanzania on the same table and decided to revive and give new life to Tazara rail line. You don't get to sit presidents like that. You don't get to sit two countries like that anyhow. You need to have wisdom. And after wisdom, that wisdom should give you credibility. People should believe that the person we are talking to is a credible man who stands by what he says. Otherwise, it never works. It never works. Rural connectivity, of course, I've talked about that. A lot of district infrastructure has been put across in form of under the CDF projects. Then the airports and airstrips. The other time we were talking about the Kasama International Airport, then a number of other airstrips. And now Barry is saying he wants to put international airports in all provincial centers. Even if he put only 3 for me, that would be enough. But the fact of the matter is, this is a man who is visionary enough to look into the future and say, despite not seeing the need in the present, in the future where we are going, this will be needed, and he plans for it. That's how a president should think. You don't get to be docile at thought as a president. No, you'll be making mistakes. People think Barry somehow, and last time I talked about this, that, you know, this mindset that because he said it, it happened. So I can say it and it will happen too. It doesn't work like that. This man has been planning. This man has been training, has been learning how governments work. He has worked with governments. So if someone has not worked with governments, someone does not have the corporate competence that we are looking for, and on top of that, they do not have a vision, I have no reason to vote for them. Never. Not me. Not me. Of course, the Zambia logistics hub government has been increasing markets you know, like from Zambia into Zimbabwe, from Zimbabwe and from Zambia into Malawi. All these. And it is in this context that we can also see the Ndora Rusaka Dio Carriageway. We can also see the Greatest Road. We can also see this Livingstone Road. And in addition to this, there's also the Kazungura border post that Barry also brought president of Botswana, President Boko. They sat, discussed very real issues, and they made a smooth movement at the Kazungura border post there. That is credibility. Bantu bakuchindika chabe. We muntu ufunika bantu bakuchindika. Sunga ngare president bantu bakuchindika mwana. Fellow youths, when you are planning, you have those ambitions. Start building a name so that when you say, me, I want to be a president, we should say, wow, this one deserves it. But you are just someone, you are just there, you are just angry about nothing, and you just love people vaguely. If there is a word like that. But your love is vague, it's not specific, there's nothing about it that is special, there's nothing specific about anything that you are saying. I will not fall for that. Then quickly I'm going to look at, this is on number 101, I'm going to number 102, clean water access. CDF things have come in place to ensure that water is there, but also a lot of other ministries, like the Ministry of, the councils, of course, this is under CDF. Then boreholes under CDF also have been put in place. School water has been facilitated, you know. Let me look at, because I've reached my 100 mark, so let me just look for something that is catchy here so that we conclude this and I go and prepare to go and vote massively. Social cash transfer. Social cash transfer saw an increment, massive increment. But not only was the increment brought in, it was literally almost doubled. And so was the number of beneficiaries. Children of God na papa tamuniverses. Nakamana Tibari thinks like this. If I've done this for a pupil, I should do this for the mother. I should do this for the auntie. I should do this for the grandmother. That is how Barry thinks. He gave free education to children. He gave effective distribution of farming inputs to parents in the villages. He came in with the CDF loans and the grants for everyone else in the urban and rural centers. Then now he brings in social cash transfer for those that are economically, disadvantaged by their age or their status. That is where social cash transfer. So everybody is picking on everyone, bringing them together and mix them in this very interesting mix of a growing economy of Zambia. That is Barry works. That is how Barry works. And this is why when I look at it, this should not even be a question. It should be a simple and straightforward subject. Barry, I go to vote where I say Barry Kwenyu Sotsana. Kwenyu Sotsana. And I will never regret voting for Barry during this election. Because in this election, anything can change tomorrow, whatever can happen, but there is one truth that no one and anything can change. In this election, there is only one candidate who is the best suited to be president, and that is Barry. If you are saying no, tell me who else and why. Apart from being bitter, ukubafya waru pato pamutima wari kosafya iwe wari. Yes, have mercy for some of these people. There is no other better presidential candidate. In any case, if there is anyone who can match that, Barry's data is these unpopular candidates that have not learned how to do politics. Food security, I think this I've talked about it. NAPSA cash partial withdrawal. You know, people are failing to get their retirement benefits, but Barry came and gave 518,183 members of NAPSA access to a partial withdrawal to an approximated 10.6 billion in money that was given to Zambians. Now, this was not money meant to spend, meant to eat. It was money meant to grow the economies, to grow the financial statuses of these NAPSA beneficiaries. So that partial withdrawal again is something that, if you have not seen, some of these things you don't get to believe them because you have not seen them. I have seen people that have benefited from that partial withdrawal. And today I can testify to the fact that actually that partial withdrawal happened and it impacted positively on the lives of the beneficiaries. The informal sector pensions, of course, this barrel has sorted minimum pension, public sector, social protection, cash for work. Now, cash for work is very important. Cash for work is very important, and it was an important initiative because it came at a time when the nation, especially in our rural communities, was struggling due to the drought. And even here in urban centers, there were problems because after the drought came road shedding. I'm going to energy. Very good. Electricity diversification. Let me marry these two nicely. I have been hearing confused individuals saying, under PF, the road shedding, in fact, they don't talk about under PF. What they say is this: 4 years of road shedding. For the past 4 years of Barry, we were having road shedding. Now, there's a funny fact. The funny fact is that in 2015-2016, there was a drought. 2014-2015, between the two. But that was followed by severe road shedding. When that road shedding happened, PF saw it. They went to parliament there. In fact, the one who went to parliament was not a member of parliament. It was the head of state himself, the late president, who went and said, road shedding that we are seeing now is the hand of God. There's nothing we can do about it. I remember that was a heated matter. It was a heated matter in parliament. Now, here's how different people can be. Now people are saying there was road shedding for 4 years. But under PF, there was road shedding in 2015, 2016. It came back in 2017, was the worst. In 2019 up to 2021, there was just road shedding. It was just varying hours and varying locations. But no one gets to talk about that. What they don't even try to even mention is how much of an intervention this government has put in place to ensure that road shedding does not repeat itself. No one has put any effort in doing so because they know under the PF when road shedding was happening, they never did anything. They were busy talking on social media, in parliament, debating and saying we are bitter. But the fact of the matter is that they were folding their hands and doing nothing about a national crisis. this president has put that as a priority in his manifesto. 10,000 megawatts of power. That is vision. That is understanding national needs, national priorities, knowing what the nation needs the most when. So we can go in circles. No, road shedding will come back, road shedding. There's one thing again that will never change. The fact that Bari has invested in solar power, and now we are standing at almost 1,000 megawatts of solar power being generated in this country. And you can't change that. There's the Mamba phase 1, phase 2 that has been put in place post this same road shedding that people are always talking about. And moreover, do not be lied to. There was no road shedding for 4 years. Road shedding, me, I was there when it started. After that drought, that road shedding was bad, and I can't defend it. It was bad. Except government, the president himself came and said, this we have seen is a problem. The country has been docile in investing in energy, and we are going to do just that starting from now. And from that time, Bari has not rested, moving from one part of the country to another, commissioning solar power plants. So when you tell me that road shedding is coming back, well, you might say that. And honestly, I don't think if it is to come back, even if I change the president, it will not come back. Because if it will come back, it will not be because the Bari has switched it off. It will be because of a catastrophe, like a drought maybe. But then, can Mundubire stop the drought from coming if it is about to come? No. Just like Ibarungu didn't stop it in 2015, in 2019. He didn't. No one can stop a drought. The only thing we can do is what Bari is doing right now. Investing in energy, alternative sources of energy. And this is why electricity diversification is extremely important as an achievement of the new Dawn government. There is coal being used at Mamba. There is solar across the country. Then there's hydro. That is how it should be. You can talk about nuclear power, all those subjects. Yes, you can speak, talk. But at the end of the day, the question is, why didn't you do it when you had the power to do it? In fact, I should be very frank with you. The PF are the ones that started the negotiation of the Chongwe nuclear power plant. I think that was in 2017. Why did they do it? The PF was good at political grandstanding. They would say this today, tomorrow they do something else. Because they wanted to keep the nation in this euphoric state where you are saying things are happening. But nothing is happening until Zambians write what was written on the face of the PF and said this is a thuggish organization that should never be in government ever again. Unless you demonstrate to the Zambian people, and probably you should disband and go in different political parties. Others go in FDD, others go where. That classification, that crowding of is a very dangerous. There is no control there. Because I can tell you for a fact, Makebizu does not respect his president. He does not fear him. You know, for leadership to work, there must be some level of kumafunika che kalipo che kakweba you are saying, but umudara alipo, either economically ni kumutamba chabi, or ni mukuru umutamba chabi. But those two, you can see even from the way they interact that there is no one who sees the other as a senior there. And trust me, should you make a mistake, fellow Zambians, let's see, gather voters cards, we go and vote tomorrow. But should you make a mistake of making a mistake, you see for yourself. Fortunately, you will not see because we are going to vote for Bari and those people are losing. Let's move. Of course, there are 116 councils. I mean, these districts, these constituencies have been told by the president to invest heavily in solar, and we are expecting that those ones are going to come in place and ensure that we are doing well. Tourism is an important sector. And many people do not understand. Maybe you don't understand like I never used to understand. The importance of tourism is like this. It's like tourism, it drives the local economy without necessarily being part of it per se. When tourists come, they want to eat, they want to sleep, they want to bath, they want to dress, they want to get things to go and show home. So this tourism, the improvement from 800,000, 500,000 arrivals to to about 2.5 million arrivals this year. Trust me, that is not a small thing for you to be saying, yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Because the people that are in the tourism industry, those people that do what do they call them? Those you design something like a lion, a rocco animal, you sell it. They are benefiting from that. Hotel owners are benefiting from that. Restaurants are benefiting from that. Liquor stores are benefiting from that. And of course, those who sell, they are also benefiting in all ways. So tourism, we used to learn in grade 12 that tourism is good and it has advantages and disadvantages. But above all, tourism is actually an economic sector. It is a key economic sector. There are countries that have majored many in tourism. And actually, part of why Singapore is doing well is tourism. And so when you hear that we are targeting 5 million tourist arrivals, no, we are moving in the right direction. Hotels, you can start investing in that area. Restaurants, you can start investing in that area. You can start investing in photography, all these things. There are just so many things under tourism that we can go on and on talking about. Then let me talk about the public-private partnership model of facilitating for construction projects. This is something that President HH championed and people opposed him. But today now those people are driving on the Dollar Rusaka Dio Carriage way. We are just watching. We know they are pretenders. But the fact of the matter remains that you cannot compare anyone to HH the way he knows how to negotiate. That man is serious with what he does. And now I understand why he's rich. It is not wealth that you can say, no, just hard work, just working hard. Putting correct numbers where they are supposed to be. Because the man is dedicated. He is a man who, sometimes when I sit to think about it, but I just wonder, I'm like, how does this man think? Because for you to think that I'm going to jump CDF from 1.6 to 28 million, like you start thinking, is this normal? But then you realize that we have been used to mediocre for so long. People saying a lot of things that they can do nothing about. And so when you look at it, but it is unbelievable. That is the kind of a man that he is. And so he brought this public-private partnership, which all that we need is to make sure that we monitor these concessionaires so that they are able to keep up their end of the bargain. Maintaining these roads, maintaining these buildings, to make sure that at the time they'll be handing them back to the government of the Republic of Zambia, they should still be in that. In fact, I'm told that in the contract, it clearly states that it should be of the same value as it is at commissioning. So, who do you think that Vamdara Vamunduvere Vangai is so? Tosazina Mizira Bantwai? Kurikupia Kumamba. Okay. I'm just going to highlight on now the last very important things, the last 10. So the most important thing that I want us to look at is debt restructuring, which freed a lot of resources, which then went into free education, went into CDF, went into teacher employment, now helping health workers employment, helping health infrastructure, school feeding program, of course, clean water, pension liquidity, being able to pay those NAPSA beneficiaries and everything, and coming to the many investments being made in copper, and overall the Zambia economic trajectory improving. Now let me end like this. If you have things that you don't take serious in your life, of which I know you do, please take this extremely serious. The Americans built their country from the ground up. The Chinese built their country from ground up. The Russians built their country from ground up. Many West Asian countries have built their countries from ground up. It was not because they were always happy in the moment with their leaders. It was because they were able to analyze and choose what is best for the country above what feels good for the person at the time, looking into a future where they would say our children should inherit a better nation. I know we are going through different circumstances across the country, at family level, at individual level. We are worrying about unemployment. We are worrying about the increasing number of qualified people with reduced number of jobs. But my one truth to you is that those can be there. But this choice of who leads this country is as important as choosing whether when you go to the hospital tomorrow and you are not feeling well, there will be medicine. It is as important as choosing whether you wake up tomorrow without being disturbed in your private space as a confessed supporter of your Mundubire or not. It is about safeguarding our democracy. It is about discipline, fiscal discipline, economic growth, and most importantly, national cohesion and sustainability. So, tomorrow go to vote. And once again, I'll tell you, go to vote. But before you cast that vote, before you put that kwenyu, before you put that X against that candidate, ask yourself, what can this person achieve on my behalf, on behalf of my community? Ask yourself, can this president be respected? Does he have the much needed credibility and trust to command international respect for my country and myself as a person? When you ask yourself those questions, when you ask yourself if this person knows what you need, if this person is able to continue with the projects that this new Dawn government has done and put in place, if that person is able to bring that clean water that you need in your community, if that person is able to keep education as free as it is now. Moreover, the opposition claims they had free education. So if they are saying they have free education, when they come back in power, they are taking you back to the free education we had before the new Dawn government. And we'll see how that free that will be. But the truth of the matter is right now, you have a man that has proven himself right in your hands. I will advise you as a brother, as a son, as an uncle. As an uncle, go and vote for Barry. The man has a clear vision for this country. He might not be perfect. And honestly, to expect him to be perfect is to be unfair, because no one is perfect. Did he deliver on the 14 hours kwacha? No, it didn't come to 10 kwacha or 5 kwacha at 14 hours. Has he done massive things for this country? Unexpected, unprecedented things? Yes, he has. Can anyone do better than him? Your answer is as good as mine. It is no. Is there anyone better suited? Anyone who has demonstrated better leadership capabilities than him? Well, you might want to debate, but your truth is my truth, and the answer is no. So, don't be wooed by people that hate a man just because of who he is. At the end of the day, you have a life to live as a person. You have a future to walk in as a person with your siblings, with your children. Ask yourself if that is the choice you make tomorrow is going to make life better for your future generations. Will you be proud of the choice you make 10 months, 10 months, 2 years, 4 years from now? At least from the visions that these people have presented to us. Please, let's go and vote for a visionary man called Bali. Let us vote for the MPs so that they help you make laws that will work best for the Zambians. Let's vote for councillors that understand what we need. And for Bali to have chosen them, he understands that they understand his vision. So they know what you need. Vote for them. Vote for those mayors. Above all, beyond the politics, beyond the partisan politics, never go to a voting booth and vote for someone based on just the feeling that you have at the time, or based on what others have said about him. Use this time between now and 6 hours tomorrow. If you need to go on AI, go and ask AI. If you need to call someone, you can call me. Ask me, I'll tell you why you should vote for Bad. I think my number is up there. You can call me, I'll tell you why you need to vote for Bad. It's nothing tribal. Once again, I repeat. I am 100% Tonga agreed. Am I supporting Bari for being Tonga? No. There is Rituals Yamunen of the Focus Party. He is Tonga. I would have chosen to support him. But the reason why I've stuck with this man is because he has provided a superior vision above everyone else. Ask yourself, what target is the opposition targeting to achieve for the Zambian people? Away from the love, of course we know anyone will say, I love you, I want to show you love. But the question is, what target are they bringing? What do they want to achieve? Really, what exactly? Barry told us education will be free, meal allowances will come back. What are they promising us? Well, I've been talking now for over 2 hours. And I'll leave this video here. I will try to preserve it however I will. But today, tomorrow, the other day, anything can change. But the fact that Bali is the best candidate in this election will never change. Thank you very much. Go and vote tomorrow and ensure that we have Bali back at State House. That man has a vision. That man is respected. That man has wisdom. He is economically astute. He is a man whose vision you can trust. He is a man who has done things that people thought they can never be done. And yes, he might not have done everything. He might not have brought the price of minimum to 50 kwacha, but he has done what no one else would have done. Me, I don't lie. I'll tell you the truth. And honestly, if you want those prices to come down, we better embrace this man's vision as our own, and we work together to make Zambia a net producer. We make Zambia a productive economy. We make Zambia a home where others will come and ask us, how did you break the shackles of poverty that were tied around you? That we can do. All we need is detach emotion from matters of national development. Detach what other people have said from matters of national development. Detach tribe from what other people detach tribe from poverty. Detach tribe from an election. Because when you vote for that wrong candidate, you'll be beaten in your individual capacity. You will become poor in your individual capacity. You will suffer in your individual capacity. Not because anyone was angry or happy with the body or not, but because you and me have made a wrong choice. So why wait for those problems to come? Let's go and vote for this man, and this man means all for this country. God bless you all. Thank you so much. Have a blessed afternoon.
We'll be having a discussion with some colleagues, some from the opposition and a few others. I'll see if I can share that link for people that would want to join. Have a blessed afternoon. God bless you all. Thank you.